not seismic, which means not earthquake conditions, but probably having to do with the underlying Earth's surface with some volcanic, where basically he said where you have mountainous areas, it's either a convergence of energies that have forced this up, usually from below, as in a lava flow or a magma flow, and it doesn't have to penetrate the Earth and go all the way through and become a volcano.
Right.
He says as the Earth's surface is shifting, the magma can push up and cause a big force of energy to push up and then come back down and recede and fill up with lava below it. And that's what causes, he says, in some cases, these mountainous areas. He believes that under the Earth here in this area, there's a large lava plume that's a couple of miles below us, but it's still discharging EMF energy through the Earth, and it's going to irradiate this area. And that's why the way the house is designed, with a lot of steel rebar, with a lot of steel in the reinforced I-beams that are in the house, which we have the way the house is designed, the structural engineer put 3 steel columns underneath the house to support 2 steel I-beams running this way. And then another 3 steel columns up another level to support the second floor. And again, on top of that, they had 2 steel I-beams. And what Dr. Taft said, you've got at one end a 30-foot wrought iron spiral staircase going from the bottom floor to the top. You've got this reinforced steel cage on 2 different levels that make preset to bury them. I said, but it's constantly shifting through the house. And unless you're like sitting in front of a magnetometer that's irradiating you in the first place for a long period of time, it's just passing around. It's not just constantly hitting you. It's like standing in front of an x-ray machine and being exposed to that kind of energy. He goes, you can walk by it. It doesn't hurt you. But if you sit there for a couple of hours, like, let me soak it all in, you're not going to become David frickin' Banner and the Hulk. You're going to drop cancer. So, that's why he says, well, you don't have to worry as long as it's constantly moving and you're not sitting in one of the hot spots for long periods of time, you're pretty much safe. So.
That's insane.
That's number 4. It was one of the most comprehensive embellishments of my story. And also he went up and he said that I'm a poltergeist agent. I was just looking around for my wallet to get one of my business cards out. But he said I was a poltergeist agent.
Oh, jeez.
And I was like, that's it. And I don't care if I do or I don't. I've seen the ending. And that's the reason probably why I have an aversion to seeing it, because it takes a true story, and it bastardizes it. And I don't care what anybody wants to say, bitch, moan, and complain to me. It's a fantasy. And to me, it's exploited in the worst way. Because, in fact, it misleads people that are not educated enough to know the history or to bother to know the history. And it disparages one individual in particular in a way that just makes me go 13 minutes of a half, almost 3-hour motion picture. It's just showing bits and pieces of her life. She's an ancillary character to the story, but the idea is that it gives attention to her in a way that some people said, so what happened to her and the baby? Where they at? It's like they didn't bother to look up the real story.
Right.
They believe that story. The ending is like, is the way that she didn't get killed and slaughtered.
Yeah.
In any event, when they were shooting for 2 days, and I remember fondly, I was like, this is happening here on my street to venerate her. I got to write my story to set the record straight. This was inspirational to they interacted and actually were up on my street. And my mom used to give hitchhikers, which were the girls' rides, up to Jan Berry's house. And it's like, don't believe it. It's like, oh yeah, look it up. Jan Berry lived right up the street. And if you don't believe it, it's pretty much, there's a lot of history to that, rich history to that story. and their connection to the Beach Boys and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then my personal experience with having the experience of finding that the family had visited my parents' house in the middle of the night in 1970.
Oh, wow.
What the? And then I started to go, and again, in 1970, the trial's going on. So nobody in the public knows about creepy crawl, least of all me.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't find out until 1976 when I read the book Helter Skelter, and my recollections were that describes exactly what the hell I found in the gosh darn in 1970. And I'm reading this.
One for your construction, and then one from when you moved in. We'll do it that way.
Do it backwards?
Yeah, we'll go from the construction of your house first, and then go to your other one.
All right. During construction of the house, I was getting complaints from the laborers.
Mm-hmm.
Where's this tool? Where's the air hammer? It's like, when you were alone. And then one of my guys, when we were 6 months done from doing the actual construction, we actually had, to get the actual crew that was working here doing the framing and building the house to then transfer to doing the crew that was coming in to do specific things like putting in the lighting fixtures, putting in the countertops and stuff. That was and putting in the mirrors, putting in the glass and all that stuff. That was all being done by not the glass, but basically the mirrors and stuff. And all the finishing touches. So that's the last 6 months of the construction. So the rough construction guys are leaving.
Uh-huh.
You guys had any weird experiences over the past 2 years working on the site?
Mm-hmm.
And one guy says, yeah. I said, really? He goes, yeah, what? He goes, 6 months ago in the dead of summer, we were working, and I heard voices and footsteps coming. David, done to stop. Nothing there. Mm-hmm. He then goes outside onto the street, looks up and down the driveway, no one there. And I said, yeah, well, that's typical. I said, I've been up here in mid-July, mid-July over the past couple of years, and it's empty until like 7 o'clock. I've been up here, and nobody's up here just to check on the job site. He goes, yeah, exactly, just my car. He goes, it's empty.
Wow. I
said, so what happens? He goes, I go back downstairs. I start, doing, working again, finishing up what I'm doing because I want to get it done. Mm-hmm. And again, I hear the voices and footsteps coming from the top floor. So I feel this like ice. He goes, it's not ice, but it feels just as cold as ice, about a 2-inch chunk of there. So I made sure no one would be leaving out before me. After one last on the job.
Right.
And again, this is hours. Mm-hmm. I look at the clock and it says 1:37. I've been asleep for 4 minutes.
Oh, jeez.
All of a sudden, I, for some reason, start to look down because the clock's over here on the wall. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, my attention is drawn to my feet. And I look and I see a guy standing there in the middle of the room. Mm-hmm. If this is my bed, right?
Yeah.
Here's the corner of the bed. He is literally about 3 feet away from the corner. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to figure here's the bed. He's like here, 3 feet away.
Right, yeah. Right.
And I'm thinking, well, I got my 2 big dogs on my bed with me, and I got my 3 cats on the bed with me, and the other one's upstairs. I'm in the other room. And I'm thinking, what the hell's going on? And I see this guy, and he's just standing there. Mm-hmm. And he's got his left arm extended, pointing like this, with his hands extended. I can't show you. Yeah. Excuse me. Extend your arm out and have your index finger pointing like this. And he is standing there, and he's doing a quarter turn from the torso up towards what is the property next door. At the time, I thought it was the driveway he was pointing to. Mm-hmm. And he's dressed and then, mind you, it's dark in the room. Mm-hmm. It's the middle of the freaking night, and it's dark. I don't have any night lights or anything. And he's standing there, and the whole room is not lit up. Just he is lit up.
Oh, wow.
And it's not like the lights coming down. It's not like lights coming up. It's not like lights on. He is illuminated. And it's strange because he's not, he looks where is life size. He is life size like a human being, except And it's not like he's foggy. He's clear as a goddamn bell. There's no aura around him. He just is there.
Mm-hmm.
But he wasn't color. Like you see, like the skin tone right now, this color. He wasn't this color. He was like, for lack of words, like pale blue, the skin. Mm-hmm. And he was dressed. He didn't look, all battered up or injured like you see in the movies when a spirit comes back, it comes back like like the way he died.
Right.
And I later found out, let me finish. He had kinky brown hair. Property next door. Mm. The property next door was just this double vacant lot that was sitting there. Mm-hmm. And this is in 2004. And several years later, the property was sold. Mm-hmm. And the new owners decided not to build the regular construction on the hillside, mm-hmm. which is basically a step foundation, mm-hmm. where you basically put caissons in the hill and then build foundation that's like this, mm-hmm. like we did, and you build on the house and you build on the hill, you build your house like that.
Right.
No. Mm-hmm. This guy did this. Here's the hillside. Mm-hmm. They came and they cut the hillside out and removed hundreds of tons of earth. Wow. Literally. They moved mountains. They went down 60 feet from the driveway straight down. So you come straight down and then took out about another 25, maybe 40-foot section of hillside. So this whole piece of section of mountain was just, mm-hmm. it just removed. Mm-hmm. And it was just like the house was shaking because of all the earth, the bulldozers and all that. It's just a nightmare. Uh-huh. Yeah, none of that. I wasn't led to believe this is a murder victim. Oh my God. Uh-huh. He looked as good as he did when he was alive in his finest.
Wow.
So that's why I didn't recognize him as him. And his hair was not straight. I knew Jay Sebring as the guy with his kinky hair. I would have said, oh, there he is. But I only saw him as the way he was in photographs, not in real life. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So that's what the irony is when you start to say, wow, it's like so much for the myths that we believe in and have been mm-hmm. told about the paranormal. Be careful what you wear when you die. You'll be that for eternity.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It depends what mood you're in, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how that works either. I mean, who really knows how it works? But yeah, that's interesting.
Die.
Yeah. Now you also have a YouTube channel that you use because your house is lit up with cameras in every orifice of it.
Yes, it's lit up with cameras. It's Christmas here, 24/7, 365.
Yeah.
No, I have, after all the times and all the shows that had come out here, mm-hmm. I said, something, I want to do something a little extreme. I want to put in a few cameras around the house to see if I'm going to be lucky enough to capture some of the activity that's going on. Mm-hmm. And it grew out of, I think it started out like 14 cameras, a bunch of them outside and then a few inside. Uh-huh. It's now grown to 30 cameras, 26 inside, including the garage, uh-huh. and 4 outside.
Wow.
And yeah, I've caught a lot of things that people go, well, you're ghost hunting? It's like, no, not even when we're ghost hunting. We have activity happen when we're not ghost hunting.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the irony. It's like
you're sleeping and while you're doing laundry and everything else. I mean, you got shit going on all the time.
Exactly. And that's what I try to say to people. It's like, do you think the spirits have watches on? It goes, hey, it's 3:00, guys. My alarm just said we got to go hunting.
Yeah. No. Yeah, that's not how it works.
And people, it's just going, it's 3:00 somewhere in this freaking world. I mean, it's like it's 5:00. Guy that's drinking, it's 2:00. It's freaking 5:00 in the East Coast. That's happy hour for them. I'm taking advantage.
Yeah.
I mean, spirits, they don't have watches, so they don't care what and when, why you want them to act mm-hmm. the way you want them to act. They say, I'll do what I want to. Thank you very much.
Right.
I've earned this. I'm passed on. You're not.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you to tell me what to do, when to do it? So
right.
I've had stuff like you said, the early morning. I woke up one morning, I had to go to the bathroom. Mm-hmm. And I was going to the bathroom. I was hearing sounds above me going,
yeah.
And I'm exhausted. I'm like half, still half asleep going, I'll deal with this later. And I looked specifically at the clock and I said, 5:13 in the morning. I said, all right, fine, I'm going back to bed. I'll deal with this later. And that's what you do like that. It's like, what am I going to do? Waste my time worrying about them, doing what they're doing? I said, forget it. I'm going to bed.
Right.
And I went and I reviewed the footage several hours later when I finally got up, and I was like, holy hell, there's a party going on up there. Yeah. And there's objects. You hear sounds of boxes being knocked over. Mm-hmm. And even those do go, that's nice, you're speaking a bunch of words in Latin to me. Mm-hmm. I'm interested in hearing it, but I'm not going to translate because I really don't care. I mean, people have this utmost egocentric belief that they can tell this and that to do this. And I'm going, really, how much luck do you have lately in telling the wind, and in this case right now, the heat to dissipate? Mm-hmm. It's like, yeah, you're going to go bitch to Mother Nature. I don't want the heat in Texas right now. Do you mind? Yeah. Luck. Good luck. You have as much luck, and this is my personal take, you have as much luck in getting Mother Nature to reduce heat and to bring the rains to the parts of lands that need it, as you do telling your cows to do this, that, the other thing. And that's what people misunderstand and believe by their own fault. They think that they have the ability to make things, to change things. They said about when I said, it was like, I said, show me really where a spirit listened to somebody talk and didn't come back because he said, I'm listening to this guy and this is what the spirit does. Mm-hmm. I'm out of here, and runs out and then comes back and says, that SOB out of here. And like, what? The spirit came back. He came back. It's like, because the spirit was getting an earache and an earful of that schmo talking. He's like, I'm out of here. Goodbye. Mm-hmm. And they walk away. And then they come back. Mm-hmm. Because you can't push out what is energy. You cannot control energy. You cannot put energy of that nature, of spirit energy, into a box. Mm-hmm. I don't care if it's, and this is what's funny. I'm thinking of the Warrens and that the Annabelle doll. Do not touch. It's like, you think that a ghost gives a rat's ass that's in a gosh darn little frickin' case? I find that the most obnoxious, pretentious pile of stupidity that people believe. You can't contain energy in a gosh darn box that you made and said, oh, there's a spirit's going to stay in there. The spirit's going to stay in that box. My fart's going to stay in my ass. Meaning, it can't. You cannot contain it. Well, it's got blessings on it, special glass. It's like, it's special glass, huh? Let me tell you something. Ghosts are like Superman with one little difference. They don't have a kryptonite. Mm-hmm. And that's what you guys buy into, the belief that you have a possessive power to tell them what to do, where to go, how to behave, what to think. It's like, no, the only power you have is to rationally deal with them on a level of mutual respect. Mm-hmm. And if you haven't got that, you ain't got a prayer. And that's where you put your faith in, is in yourself and saying, spirits, we got to get along together because I occupy this plane of existence and you occupy that one. Therefore, we have to come to some mutual agreement that it's going to be okay to hang out together. Otherwise, we're going to have problems. And I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to find a way because my will and desire is to make sure that we either get along or we get you out. Mm-hmm. But you can only say that. You can't do anything beyond that. Mm-hmm. But there lies the power that you're saying to them, I'm willing to meet you mutually on this level and say, look, you're going to hang out here, fine. Let's have some ground rules. Mm-hmm. And people look at me like, I said, how come I've been here 21 years? Yet right. Zach Baggins. Son of a bitch. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, spirits. I am so god-awful sorry I mentioned his name. I was going to finish this sentence, but I caught myself after I said Sigo, S-H-I-T. That 3 hours of his 6-hour lockdown, yeah. The professional paranormal investigator lasted 3 hours. Figurines on top of the brim were standing upright. When I returned at 3:30 p.m. in the kitchen, they were sitting at the table talking at one another. They're talking to each other, sorry. Oh, God.
Yeah.
I don't write that way. I don't have a ghostwriter. And if people want to know, this was all written by me. I didn't have a ghostwriter bother. That's why it took freaking over 10 years to put it down. I kid you not. I mean, I was on several shows by 2009, and I was starting to get the feeling that they're controlling the narrative that gets pushed to the public. And thereby they're telling my story in the way that I don't feel comfortable with. And I finally, at that point, I said, it's been 3 years since the first Ghost Hunter show was here, and then we were on my ghost story, and then Paranormal Witness later on. I said, I really got to cover that ass of mine by telling somebody and somehow putting it down on paper. And my friend said, you want to control the narrative and tell your story? Then do so. Get off your lazy ass and write the story so people can hear it from you direct without feeling like, that's your story? Well, fine. We're going to believe them. We don't know what else to believe. So that's why I wrote the book, really, was to basically clear the air. Right. Let people know that there's no Native American ceremonial burial ground on the side of the hill here, and let alone under my house. Yeah. That what Williams had said when she had come here after Ghost Hunters in 2006, when she called me and she goes, I want to see your house. And I said, who is this? And it turns out it was Lisa Williams from the Williams Experience, blah, blah, blah. Oh, the famous English psychic. So I said, do you want to see that? She goes, I want to see the house. I think it was basically email first, and then we spoke. And I said, fine, but you can't bring your team, your crew to shoot a show here because I'm on my eternity getting my butt kicked. And she looked at me and she chuckled and she got it. She goes, well, that's why they really appreciate you, alignment, why they really like you. Because I said, well, I said, I got friends on both planes of existence. How can you lose?
You're right. Yeah, exactly.
And that's how I treat it. I don't go, that's a terrible thing. They're going to hurt me. And let's be honest, in the 21 years I had lived here and the previous several years of building the house, I've never felt anything of threatened or in harm's way at all with the spirits. Right. I've always felt comforted and never in a way that I felt like it was, oh my God, I'm like concerned, because how can that environment that you call home feel like home if you feel unsettled? And I've never once felt unsettled by a spirit. I felt unsettled by people, but not by a spirit.
Right. Now, before we start wrapping things up, I want to let everybody know I did put the website for your book in the chat. ghostofcielodrive.com. And then I also put your YouTube channel in there. You guys need to go check that out. I don't know what it is with your spirits
and subscribe, please.
Yes. Yep. So subscribe and like
share.
That.
Share.
Yes.
And subscribe.
Yes.
Oh, that meant I have no idea.
That's right. And I don't know what it is about the spirits.
Subscribe. And it's free. Things, but no money.
That's right. Yeah.
No Patreon, kids. I'm sorry. I'm not doing that. I won't ever do that. I really can't stand that myself.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
I exist for you to enjoy. If that's not good enough for you, please. I'm not looking for a dollar for anything.
Right.
That's the other thing. I'm exploiting this. How am I exploiting the freaking murders? You're having events. And you go, so I have events in my house. I have them here, even if the house wasn't haunted. I like to entertain. If you guys have a problem with that, I'm sorry. People have had private events here where they've had ticketed, special events here. So,
right.
Boy. Any questions from chat, by the way?
There is no questions yet from chat. So if anything rolls in, if you guys do have any questions, feel free to shout them out to me or send me an email. I'll get them to David, or you can get a hold of him directly. You're on Instagram. You're on Twitter. Are you on Facebook? I don't have Facebook, so I don't know if you're on Facebook.
Yeah, I'm on Facebook. The Oman House. I think there's. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm part of that monster. It's just.
But please.
They're all in their own rights. They're own monsters. I look at stuff and I go, you need some fact checking done here. I know it's hard for people to believe, but that's the problem. They believe everything. And I go, And here's something I just want to add. This is totally unrelated to the paranormal, but it does have a sense of again, what my curiosity is about things. All right, this is about aliens.
Oh,
If aliens exist, my thought is this: A, we are infants to supreme, superior adults, in the sense that this is the kind of way that I look at the idea that they're aliens. Yes, they exist. They exist 1,000 million%. Aliens exist. We know this. But it's like it's like an amoeba to a human being. The amoeba is here on the evolutionary scale, and the human being is supposed to be up here, right? What the point is we are not the human being in this scenario. We are the amoeba. This life form that we are is so inherently, by comparison to alien life forms, so primitive. It's beyond primitive. It's not even on the word of primitive. Primitive means you have a standing on the scale. We don't even put ourselves on the scale by comparison of where the intellectual intelligence of these beings is. It's far superior to human beings that we can't even comprehend how far well advanced they are to us. That the government, I got news for you, the government is as goddamn stupid and dumb about this as we are. And that's not constipation theory. That's just a simple fact of when you look at what they've been able to do with their technology, and the fact that we can't even wrap our freaking fingers and brains around this stuff. I don't care if you're freaking gosh darn Albert Einstein or what's his face, Stephen Hawking's. You have no gosh darn grade of thought. You're not even in kindergarten to where these beings are on the scale of intellectual and just advancements in technology. That people in governments, they're not hiding from you what they know. They're hiding from you what they don't understand. Because if their best scientists can't figure this shit out, how do you think the rest of humanity is going to wrap their fingers around it when they can't even comprehend half the stuff that the technology that the gosh darn scientists have present day in our own possession works? Let alone that which is, and I repeat, and humanity believe in that and understand that. They're that far advanced. So the fact is, they're not touching us to touch us, because if they want to, they could squash us like a bug under a human shoe.
Right. Exactly.
So that's my thought about the aliens. They exist, yeah, but guess what? We're such tinker toys where they're working with nuclear fission. By comparison, here's a tinker toy, here's nuclear fission. We're not even closely related to comprehending it. So that's why the government's keeping it from you, because they're terrified. If you knew this all was true and you'd realize that we're going to talk to aliens. Aliens don't give a rat's ass about your dumb human ass. That's a human being who egocentrically run off this, well, I'm a human, I know everything. You know nothing, and you better shut up and start realizing your humility is lost, because they are real, and if they wanted to, they could just, it's all gone. And that's the problem. People don't believe in Star Wars, but if you really start to think about it, try applying that to present day. Or look at Star Trek, from when the Star Trek Enterprise in 1966, whatever, came to Earth in the 30s. You look at that's the kind of thing that people don't want to think about, because that's the reality of the situation. They got stuff we can't think about and understand.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. They do.
So.
They do. Well. We're over our time. Nope, you're okay. You're okay. We're over our time, but I just want to again say, go check out his book. Go buy it at ghostofcielodrive.com. If you can't remember that, the link is in the chat, and then also the chat for his YouTube is in there. Go like, subscribe. If you have any questions for David, you can there's the book, Ghost of Cielo Drive. If you have any questions, you can either shoot us an email, or you can get a hold of David directly on his websites. He's on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I'm sure if you just search for him, you'll find him. So once again, yes, would like to thank David for being on the show. It's always a pleasure having you on. And peace out, everybody.